Previous video, I was speaking about the Form 8300, and this screen here is to just give you, a first-hand view of what the form looks like if you're going to be filing this by paper. Right now, since the law has, or the requirement has changed, and the regulation is going to be that you have to file this form electronically in the future. This form may not be reflective of what happens in January 1st, 2024. As you can see, this form was last revised in 2014. So this form has been in existence for a while. So again, this is the IRS Form 8300, and this form is used to report cash payments over $10,000 in a trade or business. And in the first line, you have A or B, and you would check the one that applies to you. So if you're filing this form for the first time, neither of these boxes would apply. Box A is if you file the form and something needs to change, maybe you missed some details about the person, or you reported how the cash transaction was reported on the form. You will check box A to get that information corrected. You would use box B just to report something suspicious about the transaction. If something doesn't feel right, or you just want to protect yourself from being included in some type of tax evasion, money laundering, terrorist type of action, this form you will check off box B. So in part one, you would identify the person or the individual who you received the cash from. And you would need to collect a lot of information. So you'll probably do this before you complete the transaction, or, you will have to document this in some type of fashion. You will need their last name, their first name, their middle initial, their social security number, the address of the individual, the date of birth, and you would probably need their driver license to verify this information, the city address, and the country. Also, you would need to, Siri got in the way, list their occupation, their business or profession. So you will need to be specific. Don't put in anything like self-employed or business person. You would need to say either a plumber, a lawyer, an accountant, a car salesman, whatever their profession is, you need to be specific about it. And you would need to list the ID that was used to verify the identity of the individual, the ID number, and who was the ID issued by. So if you have, in part two, you would use this section if the transaction was conducted by someone else. And if it was conducted by more than one person, you would check the box. You can see that the box is also here. And the same thing, you will list that information here as the same as part two. And, on page two of this form is where you will list the different individuals. If it was more than one person involved in the transaction, you will list that information here on this page. and it's broken out if it was, on behalf of someone in part 2, or if it was another individual in part 1. So it corresponds. Just to get that out of the way. So in part 3 of this form, this is where the information will record the description of the payment method of the transaction. So line 28, you will list the day the cash was received, the total amount of cash, if it was received in more than one payment, you will list it here. You will check this box, and you would list different, if the total price is different than 29, you will list it here. In box 32, you will list the description of the transaction. So if you receive $10,000 in cash, you will write that here. If you receive $5,000 in U.S., $5,000 in foreign, you will list that there. If you receive the cashier's check of less than $10,000, let's say $2,000 in a cashier's check, $2,000 in a money order, and $6,000 in cash, you will list that here. And they want to be specific as far as the number of $100 bills. You will list how many, the total amount of the $100 bills that you received here. If you received in foreign currency, the name of the country. And you will also need to identify the serial numbers or the identification number on the instrument here and the name of the instrument. So it could be money orders from Western Union and the serial number that's associated with it. In box 33, you will list the types of transaction that was conducted. It could be personal property, real property, personal service, business service, intangible property, debt obligation, an exchange of cash, escrow, trust. This will mainly be like for lawyers or real estate transactions, bail bondsmen. Those types of transaction would fall here. And you would give a description of the property or the type of transaction. So if it was real estate, you would put the name, the address of the location of the real property. If it was for personal service, what type of personal service that was given. If it was a debt obligation, you would give as much detail as you can here. And here in box 4, part 4, you will list your business. Here, the name of the business, the EIN that was associated with it, or the social security number of the person that's authorized to sign this form, the address of the individual or business, and you will sign, date, print, and list your phone number. So you can see this is a lot of information that needs to be collected on this form. So there is importance on collecting all this information immediately, and also making sure that the information is accurate. You do have time to make amendment to this report and correct it. But at the same time, you want to make sure you get this done in a timely manner so it doesn't get away from you and you don't incur any penalties as a result. And if you have any questions, you can give me a call, 561-271-0019, or you can reach me at my website, surgecpa.com, and I'll greatly assist you with any question that you have, or be able to assist you with complying with this regulation. And I'm the dreaded CPA. of Serge W.D. Haiti, CPA, PLLC.